Walk into any Western garden center, and the shelves promise bigger harvests in a bottle. Nitrogen that washes away in the first rain, fish emulsion gone in a month, microbes priced like dinner out. But a Korean farmer named Cho Han-kyu proved you can make all of it yourself, from rice water, fish scraps, forest soil, and weeds. He called it natural farming, and it spread to 30 countries. The University of Hawaii tested it and published the proof. The fertilizer industry, worth $200 billion, would rather you never learn it. Here are 4 tricks they buried. Trick 1. Lactic acid bacteria. The probiotic hiding in your kitchen sink. Tonight, before you cook rice, you will pour the cloudy water from rinsing it down the drain. Stop. That grey water is the starting point for one of the most powerful free fertilizers on Earth. Rinse your rice, collect that milky water in a jar, and leave it loosely covered in a shaded spot at around 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Within a few days, it turns slightly sour. What you have done is set a trap. Only the strongest wild lactic acid bacteria can survive in that thin, starchy water, and now you have captured them. Next, strain the liquid and pour it into milk, roughly 10 parts milk to 1 part rice water. The bacteria feast on the lactose, multiply explosively, and within days the jar separates into 3 layers. A curd floats on top, a sludge sinks to the bottom, and in the middle sits a clear yellow liquid. That golden middle layer is pure lactic acid bacteria serum. These are the same organisms that ferment kimchi and yogurt, and in the soil they are quiet workhorses. They outcompete the bacteria and fungi that cause root rot and damping off. They accelerate the breakdown of organic matter, releasing nutrients that were trapped and unavailable. They thrive in the airless pockets where harmful microbes usually take hold. The University of Hawaii documented this serum-reducing odor and disease pressure so effectively that Korean hog farmers raise pigs on deep bedding with no smell and no waste runoff at all. To use it, you dilute heavily. 1 part serum to 1,000 parts water is enough to drench your soil, soak your seeds, or spray your leaves. A single batch costs you nothing but the rice water you are already throwing away, and it keeps in the refrigerator for months. The fertilizer aisle sells you bottled microbes for $20. Your sink makes them for free. Trick 2. Indigenous microorganisms. The free soil transplant from your own backyard. Every commercial soil inoculant has the same weakness. The microbes inside were grown in a factory, in a climate that is not yours, in conditions that are not yours. The moment you spread them on your garden, most of them die. Master Cho's answer was elegant. Why buy foreign microbes when the perfect ones are already living a short walk from your door? Here is the method the University of Hawaii published. Take a wooden or bamboo box, fill it with about 12 ounces of plain steamed rice, cover the top with paper, and carry it into an old, undisturbed forest or the base of a healthy stand of bamboo. Bury it just under the leaf litter and walk away for a few days. You are setting bait. The wild fungi and bacteria that have spent centuries adapting to your exact local climate will move into that rice and colonize it, covering it in a white web of mycelium. When you return, that fragrant white rice is alive with the most perfectly adapted microbes you could ever hope to find, and you did not pay a cent for them. From there, you multiply your catch. Mix the colonized rice with an equal weight of brown sugar to preserve it, then expand that mixture into bran, then into soil, doubling and doubling your living culture until you have enough to inoculate an entire garden. This is the foundation of the whole system. It is a probiotic transplant for your dirt, taken straight from the healthiest soil in your region. Spread these indigenous microorganisms into your beds, and they go to work building structure, cycling nutrients, and crowding out disease, because unlike anything in a bottle, they were born to live exactly where you put them. Trick 3. Fermented plant juice. The growth hormone you grow yourself. There is a moment in a plant's life when it is growing faster than at any other time. The new shoot tips in spring, the racing tip of a pumpkin vine, the young growth of mugwort or bamboo. Those growing tips are flooded with natural growth hormones, enzymes, and chlorophyll at concentrations the rest of the plant will never reach again. Western fertilizer ignores all of it. Korean natural farming captures it in a jar. The technique is called fermented plant juice. Before sunrise, while the plants are still full of moisture and coated in their own wild yeasts, you cut the fastest growing tips, the top 2 to 3 inches. You do not wash them, because that thin film of microbes on the leaf surface is exactly what drives the fermentation. You weigh your harvest, mix it with roughly its own weight in brown sugar, and pack it into a jar. The sugar pulls the juices out of the plant through osmosis, and in about 7 days you strain off a dark, sweet, living liquid loaded with the plant's own growth compounds. The genius is that you match the plant to the stage. Juice made from young leafy growth feeds your seedlings and drives vegetative growth. Juice made from flowers and ripe fruit supports your plants through flowering and fruit set. The University of Hawaii's published guide lists dozens of suitable plants and the exact growth stages each one supports. This is not a blunt dose of nitrogen. It is a targeted, living foliar feed. Diluted 500 to 1 and sprayed on the leaves at dawn or dusk, it gives plants the specific signals they need at the exact moment they need them, made entirely from weeds and trimmings you would otherwise throw on the compost pile. Trick 4. Fish amino acid. Turning waste into liquid nitrogen. Walk past the fish counter and ask what they do with the heads, the bones, and the guts. They throw them away, or they pay to have them hauled off. To a Korean farmer, that pile of scraps is one of the richest nitrogen sources on the planet, waiting to be unlocked. Commercial fish emulsion sells for $30 a bottle, comes watered down, and is gone in weeks. The homemade version is stronger, slow release, and nearly free. The process is patient. You take fish scraps, the parts no one wants, and you pack them in a container with an equal weight of brown sugar. Then you wait, for several months. The sugar draws out the moisture and feeds a fermentation that slowly digests the fish into a dark, potent liquid. The University of Hawaii describes the result as being like Asian fish sauce, but made without any salt, because salt would harm your soil. What you are left with is a concentrated reservoir of amino acids, the building blocks of protein, in a form that both your plants and the microbes in your soil can use directly. This is the difference between feeding a number and feeding a system. Synthetic nitrogen forces a fast green flush and then leaches away into the groundwater. Fish amino acid releases its nitrogen slowly, on biological time, while at the same time feeding the lactic acid bacteria and the indigenous microorganisms you have already built into your soil. Diluted around 1,000 to 1, it becomes a gentle, complete feed. The fish counter throws away the most valuable fertilizer in the building, and the only ingredient you have to buy is sugar. Now here is the part the industry hopes you miss. These 4 techniques are not 4 separate products competing for shelf space. They are one connected system, and each one makes the others stronger. The indigenous microorganisms build the living foundation. The lactic acid bacteria protect it and unlock its nutrients. The fermented plant juice sends precise growth signals through the season. The fish amino acid feeds both the plants and the microbes that make everything else work. Remove any one of them, and the others still help. Use them together, and they compound. But the knowledge survived. While the chemical industry was teaching the world that farming meant buying, Master Cho was teaching that farming meant observing. Cho Han-kyu was born in 1935 on a family farm in Suwon, South Korea. In 1965, he traveled to Japan to study under 3 masters of natural farming, then came home and fused what he learned with Korea's oldest tradition, the art of fermentation, that gives the world kimchi. His method did not vanish into a corporate archive. It traveled. A missionary carried it from Korea to Hawaii, where university researchers tested it, measured it, and published it in plain language for anyone to read. Master Cho went on to train more than 18,000 people before his death in 2025, and farmers across more than 30 countries kept his work alive in their fields. Korean grandmothers kept the fermentation wisdom alive in their kitchens, in the same crocks they used for kimchi. The agrochemical giants never permitted this knowledge to spread. It spread anyway, because it works. And because once a gardener discovers he can make better fertilizer from his own waste than he can buy, he never goes back to the bag. So here is how you begin. You do not need all 4 at once. Start with lactic acid bacteria tonight, from the rice water in your kitchen, because it costs nothing. And you will see the difference in your compost and your soil within weeks. When you next clean a fish or pass a fish counter, start a batch of fish amino acid and let it work while you forget about it. In spring, when growth is exploding, make your first fermented plant juice from the most vigorous weeds in your yard. And when you have a free afternoon, carry a box of rice into the nearest old forest and bring home the living heart of the whole system. The total cost to begin is the price of a bag of brown sugar and a jug of milk. That is less than a single bottle of the products these methods replace. And unlike those products, every batch you make teaches your soil to need less, not more. Western agriculture built a $200 billion business on the promise that you cannot do this yourself. A farmer in Suwon spent his life proving that you can. The methods were never truly secret. They were simply inconvenient to an industry that profits when you stay dependent. Now they are in your hands. If this opened your eyes to what your own kitchen, your own forest, and your own garden can produce, subscribe to Hank's gardening journey and ring the bell. Every like and every share helps pull this knowledge back into the light where it belongs. The next forgotten method is coming soon.